It begins. The phantom ship that sailed through time. The sea was calm, almost unnaturally so. Not a ripple disturbed the vast expanse of water as far as the eye could see. And then it appeared a ship unlike any other, its sails tattered and billowing in a wind that didn't exist, its hull glowing faintly with an ethereal light. Pause for just a moment and imagine this. A vessel from another time, sailing silently through the waves, leaving no wake behind it. It wasn't moving like normal ships do. Instead, it seemed to glide effortlessly, as though obeying laws of physics we don't yet understand. Before we dive in, tell me, where are you watching from? And what time is it there for you? We love knowing who's out there with us, and where in the world you're tuning in from. Whether you're starting your day, winding down at night, or somewhere in between, we want to know what your moment looks like. It's also a great way for us to get to know our audience better and maybe even shape future content around your schedules. So go ahead, drop a comment below and let us know where you are today. We're all ears. Now, back to the story. The man who witnessed this phenomenon had always been fascinated by history, particularly maritime history. He spent countless hours poring over old maps, reading about legendary voyages, and dreaming of the days when the seas were uncharted territory, full of mystery and adventure. But nothing he'd ever read prepared him for what he saw that day. He was standing on the deck of a small fishing boat, miles off the coast of Maine, when the phantom ship materialized before his eyes. For a brief moment, he thought it might be some kind of mirage, a trick of the light caused by heat rising from the ocean surface. But as he watched, the ship grew clearer, more defined, until it was undeniably realer, at least as real as something from another century could be. The setting sun cast long shadows across the water, painting the scene in hues of gold and crimson. The air smelled salty, carrying with it the faint tang of seaweed and distant storms. Somewhere nearby, gulls cried out, their calls echoing eerily against the backdrop of the silent ship. There was no crew visible aboard the vessel, only the ghostly glow emanating from its timbers, as if the wood itself carried a memory of firelight from centuries past. Time seemed to stand still as the man stared, unable to tear his gaze away. But then came the first sign that something was truly amiss. A clock hanging near the helm began to chimeno once, not twice, but 13 times. 13! Who had ever heard of such a thing? The sound reverberated through the air, each note deep and resonant, as if the very fabric of reality were being tested. His heart raced as he realized that this wasn't just any ordinary ship. It was a ship that defied explanation, one that shouldn't exist in this timeline. As he stood frozen in awe, the ship began to change. Its form shifted subtly, becoming less distinct, more translucent, as though it were fading into another dimension. Yet despite its increasingly insubstantial appearance, the man felt compelled to follow it. Something within him whispered that this was important, that this was a moment that would alter everything he knew about the world, and perhaps even himself. He wasn't alone in seeing the ship. Reports soon surfaced from sailors all along the eastern seaboard, each describing variations of the same eerie encounter. Some claimed they saw the ship during storms, while others swore it appeared only under clear skies. What united these accounts, however, was the sense that the ship carried with it a message, though none could agree on what exactly that message might be. Was it a warning, a glimpse into the past, or something far stranger? The twist arrived when historians began digging deeper into archives and discovering records of a ship matching the description seen by modern witnesses. Built in the late 1700s, this vessel had vanished without a trace during a transatlantic voyage, presumed lost at sea. But here it was, reappearing hundreds of years later, seemingly untouched by time. Even more bizarre, researchers found logs detailing strange occurrences aboard the ship, accounts of lights appearing spontaneously, clocks striking 13, and sightings of figures walking the decks who weren't listed among the crew manifest. The climax hit hard when scientists theorized that the ship wasn't merely a relic from the past, but a vessel capable of traversing different eras. They speculated that certain conditions, perhaps involving magnetic fields or gravitational anomalies, allowed the ship to slip between timelines, making appearances throughout history before vanishing again. This theory gained traction when satellite imagery captured fleeting glimpses of the ship in locations separated by decades, each image showing the same distinctive markings etched into the hull. And then came the ultimate revelation. One night, as the man lay awake thinking about the phantom ship, he noticed something peculiar about a locket he'd inherited from his grandmother. Inside, alongside a faded photograph of her younger self, was a tiny engraving of a ship. At first glance, it looked like a generic design, but upon closer inspection, he realized it bore the exact same scars and imperfections as the ghostly vessel he'd witnessed. Could his family have had ties to the ship? Was this why he'd been chosen to see it? The conclusion left him questioning everything he thought he knew about lineage, destiny, and the nature of time itself. Did the ship choose those it revealed itself to, or was it simply a random occurrence? Whatever the truth may be, one thing was certain. The phantom ship had changed him forever, opening his mind to possibilities beyond the boundaries of conventional understanding. So, what do you think happened to the man who saw the phantom ship? Let me know in the comments below. Was it a glimpse into another era, a message from ancestors long gone, or something entirely different? Whatever your thoughts may be, sharing them helps build a community of curious minds, eager to explore the mysteries of our universe together. Thanks for joining me on this journey tonight. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, And remember, the unknown is always closer than we think. It begins. The shadow government, a dark conspiracy for sleepless nights. In the dead of night, a man sat alone in his dimly lit study, the faint glow of his computer screen casting long shadows across the room. Before him lay stacks of documents, pages filled with redacted text, cryptic symbols, and fragmented sentences that hinted at something far larger than any single individual could comprehend. The air was heavy with tension as he scrolled through an email chain he had uncovered, one that traced back to individuals whose names were whispered only in hushed tones. At the bottom of the thread, a single sentence stood out, chilling in its simplicity. The shadow knows more than we ever will. His hands trembled slightly as he leaned back in his chair, staring into the darkness beyond the screen. What he had stumbled upon wasn't just a conspiracy, it was a labyrinth of secrets so vast it threatened to consume anyone who dared venture too deep. Before we dive in, tell me, where are you watching from, and what time is it there for you? Oh, we love knowing who's out there with us, and where in the world you're tuning in from. Whether you're starting your day, winding down at night, or somewhere in between, we want to know what your moment looks like. It's also a great way for us to get to know our audience better, and maybe even shape future content around your schedules. So go ahead, drop a comment below, and let us know where you are today. We're all ears. This journey began years earlier, long before the man found himself entangled in this web of intrigue. It started innocently enough, passing comment made by a colleague during lunch about how certain decisions seem to bypass elected officials entirely. The remark lingered in his mind, gnawing at the edges of his curiosity. Who were these unseen forces pulling strings behind the scene? Was it paranoia? Or was there substance to the idea of a shadow government operating beyond public scrutiny? The man lived in a quiet suburban neighborhood where life moved at a predictable pace. Neighbors waved politely as they watered their lawns. Children played on sidewalks until dusk, and the hum of evening news broadcasts drifted through open windows. On the surface, everything appeared normal. Yet beneath this veneer of tranquility, whispers circulated among those willing to listen. Conversations overheard at coffee shops, vague references in podcasts, and late-night documentaries all pointed toward the same unsettling conclusion. The world was governed not by the people elected to lead, but by an invisible elite whose motives remained shrouded in secrecy. His fascination grew after stumbling upon a series of declassified files online. These documents detailed covert operations conducted throughout the 20th century operations that often contradicted official narratives. One file described a program aimed at manipulating public opinion through media control. another outlined plans to destabilize foreign governments under the guise of promoting democracy. While some dismissed these revelations as relics of a bygone era, the man couldn't shake the feeling that their legacy endured. What if the shadow government hadn't dissolved with the end of the Cold War? What if it had evolved, adapting to new technologies and global challenges while remaining hidden from view? As he dug deeper, strange coincidences began to pile up. A whistleblower contacted him anonymously, claiming to possess evidence of ongoing manipulation. Cryptic messages arrived via encrypted channels, each one urging caution without revealing much. Then came the surveillance. He noticed unfamiliar cars parked near his home, static interruptions on phone calls, and the occasional sensation of being watched. None of it was conclusive, but together, these incidents painted a picture of paranoia that felt disturbingly real. The turning point came when he received a package with no return address. Inside was a USB drive containing hours of audio recordings. Voices spoke in clipped tones, discussing policies yet to be announced, economic shifts manipulated to benefit specific interests, and even the orchestration of social movements designed to distract from larger agendas. Listening to these conversations felt like peering behind a curtain meant to shield the truth from prying eyes. But the most shocking revelation came when he recognized one of the voices, a prominent figure in mainstream politics, someone trusted by millions. How could this person be involved in such clandestine dealings? With each discovery, the stakes grew higher. He realized he wasn't just uncovering information. He was becoming part of the story. Every step forward brought him closer to danger, yet retreat seemed impossible. The conflict reached its peak when he attended a conference hosted by a think tank known for influencing policy decisions. There, amidst polished suits and rehearsed smiles, he encountered individuals whose presence radiated authority despite their anonymity. They never introduced themselves, never acknowledged his existence directly, but he could feel their gaze following him wherever he went. It was then he understood. The shadow government didn't operate in secret because it feared exposure. It thrived on the knowledge that few would believe its existence, even if proven. The twist came unexpectedly, jolting him out of his growing despair. During a routine visit to a library, he stumbled upon an old book tucked away in a forgotten corner. Its cover bore no title, only a symbol resembling those he'd seen in the leaked documents. Flipping through its pages, he discovered a passage describing the cyclical nature of power, how every empire, no matter how grand, eventually collapsed under the weight of its own corruption. The final line struck him like a thunderclap. The shadows may rule, but they are not invincible. Suddenly, the pieces clicked into place. The shadow government wasn't an omnipotent foresight. It was a system perpetuated by fear, greed, and complacency. And systems, no matter how entrenched, could be dismantled. By the climax of his investigation, the man faced a choice. He could expose what he knew, risking everything to shine light on the shadows, or he could retreat into obscurity, preserving his safety but leaving the status quo intact. In the end, he chose neither. Instead, he began planting seeds of doubt-subtle acts of resistance designed to awaken others to the reality around them. He shared fragments of his findings anonymously, encouraging critical thinking and skepticism. Slowly, imperceptibly, cracks began to form in the facade. The conclusion leaves listeners pondering their role in the broader narrative. Is the shadow government a tangible entity, or is it merely a reflection of humanity's darkest impulses? Can individuals truly challenge systems built to endure centuries? Or are we destined to remain pawns in a game we don't fully understand? These questions hang in the air, unresolved yet undeniable. What do you think drives the shadow government, the pursuit of power, the preservation of order, or something else entirely? Do you believe ordinary people can make a difference? Or are we forever trapped in cycles of control? Let me know in the comments. I'm eager to hear your thoughts. Until next time, stay curious, stay vigilant, and remember, sometimes the greatest mysteries lie not in the shadows, but within ourselves. Good night. It begins. The Tale of the Forgotten Kingdom, a dark bedtime story. In the heart of an ancient forest, shrouded by mist and silence, stood a crumbling stone archway. Its intricate carvings were worn smooth by time, yet they still whispered secrets to those who dared listen closely enough. Beneath the pale glow of a crescent moon, a lone figure approached, their breath visible in the cold night air. They carried no map, no compass, only fragments of a story passed down through generations. A tale of a forgotten kingdom hidden deep within these woods, a place where time itself seemed to falter and fade. But as the figures stepped closer to the archway, the ground beneath them trembled faintly, as though protesting their intrusion. Something stirred in the shadows beyond, something ancient and restless. Before we dive in, tell me, where are you watching from, and what time is it there for you? Oh, we love knowing who's out there with us and where in the world you're tuning in from. Whether you're starting your day, winding down at night, or somewhere in between, we want to know what your moment looks like. It's also a great way for us to get to know our audience better and maybe even shape future content around your schedules. So go ahead, drop a comment below and let us know where you are today. We're all ears. This journey begins not with grandeur, but with quiet curiosity. The figure was someone ordinary, someone like you or me, a wanderer, drawn to the mysteries of the past. They lived in a small town nestled at the edge of the forest, a place where history lingered in every creaking floorboard and weathered gravestone. Locals spoke of the forgotten kingdom in hushed tones, blending fact with folklore, until it became impossible to separate truth from myth. Some claimed it had been a thriving civilization centuries ago, its people prosperous and wise. Others said it fell into ruin because of hubris, punished by forces beyond comprehension. No one ventured far enough into the woods to confirm or deny any of it, except now, this solitary traveler. The forest itself was alive in ways difficult to describe. Trees stretched endlessly skyward, their gnarled branches intertwining like skeletal fingers. Moss blanketed the ground, muffling footsteps and swallowing sound. As the figure walked deeper, the air grew heavier, carrying with it the faint scent of earth and decay. Birds ceased their songs. Insects stilled their buzzing. It wasn't fear that slowed. Their paced was awe. This place felt sacred, untouched by modernity, as if stepping here meant crossing into another realm entirely. Their guide was a tattered journal found tucked away in an attic. Its pages were brittle, ink faded, but legible. Written in looping handwriting were accounts of expeditions led by explorers long dead, each entry more cryptic than the last. One passage described a city cloaked in perpetual twilight, its spires reaching toward a starless sky. Another mentioned statues that moved when no one watched, guarding treasures too dangerous to behold. The final entry ended abruptly. I have seen what lies beyond. I cannot return. What lay ahead? Was it salvation or damnation? The first sign of unease came when the path vanished beneath a thick blanket of fog. One moment, the figure could see clearly. The next, visibility dropped to mere inches. Panic bubbled just below the surface, but they pressed on, trusting instinct over reason. Then came the whispers, not loud enough to form words, but persistent, insistent. They seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere, echoing softly against the trees. At first, the figure thought it was their imagination playing tricks, but the longer they listened, the more distinct the voices became. They weren't hostile. They sounded, pleading, urging them forward. And then, suddenly, the fog lifted. Before them sprawled the ruins of the forgotten kingdom. Crumbling walls lined streets overtaken by roots and vines. Buildings leaned precariously, their windows dark and empty. Yet amidst the decay, beauty lingered. Intricate mosaics adorned the remnants of temples, depicting scenes of prosperity and celebration. Fountains stood dry, their basins cracked, but still bearing traces of flowing water. It was as though the city had frozen in time, caught mid-breath before collapsing into silence. But the tranquility didn't last. As the figure explored further, they noticed subtle changes. Shadows shifted unnaturally, elongating and twisting despite the absence of sunlight. Statues lining the pathways appeared different upon second glance, their postures slightly altered, their expressions darker. And then there were the doors, dozens of them scattered throughout the ruins, each one sealed tight. The journal had warned about these doors, describing them as gateways to knowledge too vast for mortal minds to comprehend. Yet curiosity burned fiercely within the traveler. Against better judgment, they pushed open one of the doors. Inside was not a room, but a voida, swirling expanse of light and darkness that defied logic. Voices erupted, louder now, overlapping in a cacophony of languages, both familiar and alien. Images flashed before their eyes, cities rising and falling, civilizations flourishing and fading, stars being born and dying. Time unraveled, stretching and contracting until past, present, and future blurred together. The figure realized with dawning horror that they weren't looking at history, they were experiencing it. Every decision ever made, every life ever lived, played out simultaneously, infinite and overwhelming. The twist came when they saw themselves reflected countless times within the void, not as they were now, but as they might have been in alternate realities. In one version, they stood crowned, ruling over a golden empire. In another, they knelt defeated, shackled by chains forged from their own choices. Each reflection represented a path not taken, a destiny abandoned. And then, among the myriad selves, one stood apart, a shadowy figure cloaked in darkness, face obscured but presence undeniable. This version reached out, not with hostility, but with sorrow, whispering a single word. Remember. When the figure stumbled back into the ruins, gasping for air, the landscape had changed. The once decaying city now glimmered faintly, as though infused with new life. Statues stood tall and proud, their gazes benevolent rather than menacing. Even the air felt lighter, charged with possibility instead of dread. Had the act of opening the door somehow altered reality? Or had the traveler merely awakened to a truth that had always existed? By the climax of their journey, the figure understood the true nature of the Forgotten Kingdom. It wasn't a place bound by geography or timing. It was a mirror reflecting humanity's collective soul. Every choice, every action rippled outward, shaping the world in ways unseen yet undeniable. The shadow government of fate, so to speak, resided not in external forces, but within the hearts of individuals. To forget the past was to doom oneself to repeat it. To remember was to reclaim agency, however fragile and fleeting. The conclusion leaves listeners grappling with profound questions. What does it mean to truly remember? Is history a burden or a gift? Can we change the course of our lives, or are we forever tethered to decisions made long ago? These uncertainties linger, unresolved yet resonant. What do you think the shadowy figure represented? Was it a warning, a guide, or something else entirely? Do you believe we hold the power to shape our destinies, or are we merely passengers on a predetermined journey? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Until next time, may your dreams carry you to places unknown, and may you find answers worth seeking. Good night. It begins. The tale of the sea witch and her deadly curse. On a moonless night, where the sea stretched endlessly into darkness, and the waves whispered secrets to the shore, a lone fisherman cast his net one final time. But instead of hauling in a catch, he pulled something strange from the depths of a small, weathered bottle sealed with black wax. Inside, a rolled parchment bore symbols that seemed to writhe under the dim light of his lantern. As he traced the markings with trembling fingers, the ocean around him grew unnaturally still. The air thickened, heavy with anticipation, as though the sea itself was holding its breath. And then, faintly at first, but growing louder, came laughter, a sound both melodic and menacing, echoing not from the waves, but from somewhere deep within the bottle. Before we dive in, tell me, where are you watching from, and what time is it there for you? Oh, we love knowing who's out there with us, and where in the world you're tuning in from. Whether you're starting your day, winding down at night, or somewhere in between, we want to know what your moment looks like. It's also a great way for us to get to know our audience better and maybe even shape future content around your schedules. So go ahead, drop a comment below and let us know where you are today. We're all ears. The story begins long before the fisherman's fateful discovery in a coastal village nestled between jagged cliffs and restless tides. This place was no stranger to tales of the sea legends of mermaids, ghost ships, and hidden treasures were woven into the fabric of daily life. Yet none of these stories held the weight or dread of the tale of the sea witch. She was said to be an ancient being, neither fully human nor creature of the deep, who had cursed generations of sailors and villagers alike. Some claimed she was born of betrayal, cast into the ocean by those she once loved. Others believed her curse was punishment for tampering with forces beyond mortal understanding. Whatever the truth, her name was rarely spoken aloud, lest it summon her wrath. The fisherman lived simply, like many in the village, relying on the bounty of the sea to sustain him. His days followed a predictable rhythm, rising before dawn, mending nets, and setting out to sea. He wasn't a superstitious man, but even he couldn't ignore the unease that had settled over the village in recent weeks. Fishermen returned with empty nets. Storms brewed without warning, their fury unrelenting. Whispers spread of the sea witch's return, though no one dared speak her name directly. Instead, they referred to her only as She Who Watches, a title steeped in fear and reverence. It was during one such storm that the fisherman found the bottle. At first, he thought nothing of it, a curious trinket washed ashore by chance. But as he examined the symbols etched onto the parchment, he felt an inexplicable pull, a compulsion to unravel their meaning. That night, unable to shake the feeling that he had disturbed something sacred, he sought answers in the oldest parts of the village, an abandoned lighthouse perched precariously on the cliffs. There, amid shelves lined with dusty books and crumbling maps, he discovered fragments of lore about the sea witch. One passage described how she bound her power to objects scattered across the ocean floor, each containing a piece of her essence. To break her curse, one must gather all these artifacts and destroy them, but doing so would invite her vengeance. As days turned into weeks, the fisherman became increasingly obsessed. Strange occurrences began to plague him. Shadows moving where none should exist, whispers carried on the wind, and dreams filled with visions of a woman cloaked in seaweed, her eyes glowing like twin moons. In these dreams she spoke not with words, but through emotions, conveying sorrow, anger, and longing. Though terrified, he couldn't turn away. Each artifact he recovered brought him closer to understanding her story, yet further from the safety of ignorance. The turning point came when he retrieved the final objecta, shard of obsidian encased in coral. As he held it aloft, the sea erupted in chaos. Waves crashed violently against the cliffs, and the sky darkened despite the absence of clouds. From the churning waters emerged the sea witch herself, her form shifting between beauty and monstrosity. Her voice, when she finally spoke, was both soothing and terrifying. "You seek to undo my work," she said, her gaze piercing. "But do you truly understand what you unleash? Here lies the twist revelation that shattered everything the fisherman thought he knew. Through fragmented memories shared by the sea witch, he learned that her curse was not born of malice, but desperation. Centuries ago, she had been a healer, using her gifts to protect the village from plagues and famine. But jealousy poisoned hearts, leading to her exile. In her grief, she bound her spirit to the sea, ensuring her protection would endure even in death. Over time, however, her intentions twisted, her magic corrupted by the hatred directed toward her. The curse wasn't meant to harm it, was meant to shield, albeit imperfectly. Faced with this knowledge, the fisherman stood at a crossroads. Destroying the artifacts would free the village from her influence, but condemn her soul to eternal oblivion. Leaving them intact meant perpetuating a cycle of suffering masked as salvation. In the end, he chose a third pathon of reconciliation. Using the fragments of her essence, he performed a ritual to restore balance, allowing her to pass peacefully while lifting the veil of fear that had clouded the village for centuries. By the climax, the transformation was undeniable. The sea calmed, its waters shimmering with newfound clarity. Villagers reported seeing schools of fish return, their nets overflowing once more. Even the cliffs seemed less foreboding, bathed in sunlight after months of gloom. Yet the most profound change occurred within the fisherman himself. No longer burdened by obsession, he found solace in the simplicity of his life, carrying with him the lessons of compassion and forgiveness. The conclusion leaves listeners pondering the nature of curses and redemption. Was the sea witch truly evil, or was she a victim of circumstance? Can acts of kindness undo centuries of pain? Or does some damage linger forever? These questions remain unanswered, lingering like the echo of waves against the shore. What do you think drove the sea witch to bind her soul to the sea? Do you believe the fisherman made the right choice, or should he have destroyed the artifacts entirely? Let me know in the comments. I'm eager to hear your thoughts. Until next time, may your dreams carry you to places unknown, and may you find peace in the mysteries of the world. Good night. It begins. The Midnight Signal. A true conspiracy story that was never meant to be heard. In the heart of a quiet little town in Arizona, there was an old library. This wasn't just any library. It had books that whispered secrets when no one was listening. Pause for a moment and imagine this place filled with shelves upon shelves of dusty tomes, their spines cracked from years of being opened and closed by curious hands. But among all these books, one stood out, a book so peculiar it didn't even have a title on its cover. It was plain, leather-bound, and seemed to pulse faintly, as if it were alive. Before we dive in, tell me, where are you watching from, and what time is it there for you? We love knowing who's out there with us, and where in the world you're tuning in from. Whether you're starting your day, winding down at night, or somewhere in between, we want to know what your moment looks like. It's also a great way for us to get to know our audience better and maybe even shape future content around your schedules. So go ahead, drop a comment below and let us know where you are today. We're all ears. Now, back to the story. The man who found this book never expected it to change his life forever. He was just someone passing through, a traveler looking for answers about the world he lived in. He believed deeply in science, in facts, and in logic. Evolution, to him, was not just a theory, but a proven truth, something undeniable, backed by mountains of evidence. Yet, as he sat alone under the dim light of the library's flickering bulb, flipping through the pages of this mysterious book, he began to feel uneasy. Each page seemed to challenge everything he knew, every belief he held dear. And then he saw it, a drawing so vivid, so detailed, it felt almost real. It depicted creatures unlike anything he'd ever seen, creatures that appeared to be halfway between human and animal, their forms shifting unnaturally. He paused, taking a deep breath, trying to calm himself. Was this some kind of prank? Or worse, Was this book trying to convince him that evolution itself was built on lies? As he read further, the text became more cryptic, speaking of ancient civilizations that understood truths long forgotten by modern humanity. These weren't just random musings. They were written with such precision, such authority, that he couldn't help but wonder if, perhaps, just perhaps, there was something to them. The room grew colder as he turned another page. Outside, the wind howled eerily, rattling the windows of the old library. Inside, the silence was oppressive, broken only by the soft rustle of paper beneath his trembling fingers. Somewhere in the distance, a clock chimed midnight. He glanced up briefly, his eyes scanning the empty aisles of the library, half expecting to see someone or something watching him. But there was nothing. Just the endless rows of books, each one holding its own secrets, waiting patiently for someone brave enough to uncover them. As he delved deeper into the book, he noticed patterns emerging. Dates, locations, names all, pointing to events that history books conveniently omitted. There were references to fossils discovered in places where they shouldn't exist, to DNA sequences that defied explanation, to archaeological findings that suggested intelligent life existed millions of years before humans walked the earth. His mind raced, piecing together fragments of information until a chilling realization dawned on him. What if the story of human evolution wasn't entirely accurate? What if we were missing pieces of the puzzle so fundamental that without them, the entire narrative crumbled? But before he could fully process this thought, the book did something extraordinary. One of the pages began to glow softly, illuminating the darkened room with an otherworldly light. He leaned closer, his heart pounding wildly in his chest. Words started appearing on the page, words that hadn't been there before. They spoke directly to him, addressing him by name, though he hadn't told Anjuninut, even the librarian, who he was. You seek answers, the text read, but are you ready for the truth? His hands shook as he reached out to touch the glowing letters. In that instant, the world around him shifted. The library vanished, replaced by a vast expanse of stars, stretching infinitely above him. Below, he could see the earth, spinning slowly in the void, its surface covered in strange markings he couldn't quite decipher. Voices echoed around him, overlapping and intertwining, speaking in languages both familiar and alien. Among them, one voice rose above the rest, clear and commanding. Evolution is not a lie, it said, but neither is it the whole truth. And then came the twist. The voice continued, explaining that evolution as we know it is merely one piece of a much larger puzzle. Humanity's journey isn't linear. It's cyclical, influenced by forces beyond our comprehension. Civilizations rise, and fall, leaving behind traces of their existence buried deep within the fabric of reality. Some of these civilizations were advanced far beyond our wildest dreams, capable of manipulating matter and energy in ways we can barely begin to imagine. And yet they too fell victim to the same cycle of creation and destruction. The climax hit him like a freight train. The voice revealed that humanity isn't unique in its struggle to understand its origins. Other species, equally intelligent and curious, have walked this planet before us. Their stories are woven into the very DNA of every living creature, hidden in plain sight for those willing to look closely enough. The book wasn't just challenging the concept of evolution, it was expanding it, redefining it in ways that made his head spin. As the vision faded and the library returned, he realized the book had vanished from his hands. All that remained was a single sheet of paper bearing a message scrawled in elegant handwriting. The truth waits for those who dare to seek it. The conclusion left him speechless. For hours he sat there, staring at the paper, pondering the implications of what he'd experienced. Was it real? Or was it all a figment of his imagination? A product of sleep deprivation and too much coffee? Either way, he knew one thing for certain. Nothing would ever be the same again. So, what do you think happened to the man in the library? Let me know in the comments below. Did he uncover the ultimate truth about evolution? Or did he simply stumble upon a clever fabrication designed to test his beliefs? Whatever your thoughts may be, sharing them helps build a community of curious minds eager to explore the mysteries of our universe together. Thanks for joining me on this journey tonight. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and remember the truth is always stranger than fiction. It begins. Unsolved midnight frequencies. The creepy signal heard around the world, fact or fiction. The sound of the midnight signal was unlike anything anyone had ever heard before. It wasn't just a noise, it was a pattern, a rhythm that seemed to pulse through the air like a heartbeat from another world. Imagine this. You're sitting in your cozy room, late at night, scrolling through random channels on an old radio, when suddenly, out of nowhere, this strange series of beeps and tones cuts through the static. They weren't random, it felt deliberate, calculated, as if someone or something was trying to communicate with you. Before we dive in, tell me, where are you watching from, and what time is it there for you? Often, we love knowing who's out there with us, and where in the world you're tuning in from. Whether you're starting your day, winding down at night, or somewhere in between, we want to know what your moment looks like. It's also a great way for us to get to know our audience better and maybe even shape future content around your schedules. And so go ahead, drop a comment below and let us know where you are today. We're all ears. Now, back to the story. The signal didn't stop after one night. No, It kept coming back every single midnight, without fail. And it wasn't just happening to one person, it was being picked up by people across the country. A truck driver in Arizona claimed he first heard it while parked under a starlit desert sky. A college student in Massachusetts said it interrupted her study session during finals week. Even a retired engineer from Texas swore he recorded it multiple times using his homemade shortwave device. But no matter who heard it, they all described the same thing. A haunting sequence of tones that seemed to form words, but not quite. It was maddeningly close, yet frustratingly elusive, like staring at a puzzle missing its final piece. As the days turned into weeks, more and more people began sharing their experiences online. Forums lit up with discussions about the mysterious signal. Some thought it was a government experiment gone wrong. Others believed it was aliens attempting to make contact. A few suggested it might be a secret organization testing some kind of mind control technology. But despite the endless speculation, no one could agree on what it truly meant or why it only appeared at midnight. The truth is, though, this wasn't the first time humanity had encountered something like this. Back in the 1970s, researchers stumbled upon a similar phenomenon known as the bloop. It was a powerful underwater sound, so loud it was detected by sensors thousands of miles apart. Scientists never found a definitive explanation for it, leaving many to wonder whether nature itself held secrets far beyond human comprehension. Could the midnight signal be connected to these earlier mysteries? Or was it something entirely new? Let's rewind for a moment. Picture this, a small town nestled deep within the Appalachian Mountains. The kind of place where everyone knows each other's name and life moves at a slower pace. Here, in this quiet community, lived a man whose hobby became the spark that ignited global curiosity. He spent most evenings tinkering with electronics in his basement workshop, building gadgets and experimenting with amateur radio equipment. One fateful night, while adjusting the frequency dial on his latest creation, he intercepted the signal. At first, he dismissed it as interference, but as he listened closer, he realized it wasn't random noise. It was structured, almost musical. Curiosity got the better of him, and he decided to record it. Over several nights, he documented the patterns, noting how they changed slightly each time. Sometimes faster, sometimes slower, but always consistent enough to suggest intent behind them. His findings caught the attention of local news outlets, which quickly spread nationwide. Before long, major media networks were covering the story, turning the once private discovery into a national sensation. But here's where things started getting weird. As more people tuned in to listen for themselves, reports surfaced of strange side effects associated with hearing the signal. Some claimed It gave them vivid dreams filled with images of unfamiliar landscapes. Others reported headaches or feelings of unease whenever they heard it. A handful even insisted it altered their perception of reality, making them question everything they thought they knew about the world. Of course, skeptics dismissed these accounts as mere coincidence or psychological suggestion. After all, humans have a tendency to find meaning in randomness, especially when presented with phenomena they don't understand. Yet, the sheer volume of testimonials made it hard to ignore completely. Was it possible that the signal carried more than just sound waves, that it somehow interacted with the brain in ways science couldn't yet explain? Meanwhile, government agencies took notice. Rumors swirled about classified investigations involving top-secret departments within the Pentagon and CIA. Whispers hinted at meetings held behind closed doors where experts debated the origins and implications of the signal. Official statements remained vague, offering little clarity to the public. This only fueled speculation further, creating an atmosphere of paranoia and intrigue. Then came the twist. Just as interest reached its peak, the signal vanished. One night, it simply stopped appearing. No warning, no explanation, just silence where there had once been mystery. Those who had grown accustomed to hearing it each midnight now faced empty airwaves. For many, the abrupt cessation felt unnatural, almost sinister, as if whatever created the signal had deliberately chosen to withdraw. This disappearance raised even more questions than answers. Had whoever or whatever was responsible achieved their goal? If so, what exactly was that goal? Or was this merely the beginning of something larger, a trial run before unleashing something far more significant? In the months following the signal's disappearance, theories continued to flourish. Some proposed it was a test of advanced communication technologies developed by extraterrestrial civilizations. Others speculated it originated from deep beneath Earth's surface, originating from ancient machines built by forgotten cultures. A particularly intriguing hypothesis suggested it wasn't real at all, that it existed solely within the minds of those who believed they heard it, manifesting as a collective hallucination triggered by shared subconscious desires. Regardless of its true nature, the midnight signal left an indelible mark on those who experienced it. It served as a reminder of how much we still don't know about the universe and ourselves. Perhaps that's the real takeaway. The unknown isn't something to fear, but rather an opportunity to explore, to grow, to learn. So, what do you think happened to the midnight signal? Was it a message from beyond, a glimpse into alternate dimensions, or simply a product of human imagination run wild? Let me know in the comments below. Share your thoughts, your theories, your wildest guesses. Together, maybe we can uncover the truth, at least come closer to understanding the mysteries that surround us. And remember, sometimes the best stories aren't the ones we hear, but the ones we create together. Thank you for joining me tonight. Sleep well, dream big, and until next time, keep listening. It begins. The Whispering Woods, a chilling campfire story. The forest was alive that night. Not with the usual sounds of rustling leaves or chirping crickets, but with something far more unsettling, a soft, barely audible whisper carried on the wind. It wasn't human, not entirely, yet it felt deliberate, as if the woods themselves were trying to tell a story no one wanted to hear. Before we dive in, tell me, where are you watching from? And what time is it there for you? We love knowing who's out there with us and where in the world you're tuning in from. Whether you're starting your day, winding down at night, or somewhere in between, we want to know what your moment looks like. It's also a great way for us to get to know our audience better and maybe even shape future content around your schedules. So go ahead, drop a comment below and let us know where you are today. We're all ears. Now, back to the tale. Imagine this. A group of friends gathered around a flickering campfire deep in the heart of an ancient forest. The flames cast dancing shadows against the towering trees, their silhouettes stretching endlessly into the darkness above. The air smelled earthy, dampened by recent rain, and the chill seeped through layers of clothing despite the warmth of the fire. They had come here seeking adventure, a break from the monotony of everyday life, unaware that they were about to experience something none of them would ever forget. One of them, a quiet soul who always seemed lost in thought, decided to share a story. "You've all heard of haunted houses," they began, their voice steady but tinged with hesitation. "But have you ever considered haunted forests?" Pause for effect. Heads turned curiously toward them, drawn in by the promise of mystery. And so the storytelling began, not just for entertainment, but because the whispers in the woods demanded it. As the story unfolded, the atmosphere grew heavier. The narrator spoke of a forgotten tribe that once called these woods home. A tribe rumored to possess knowledge beyond comprehension, able to communicate with nature itself, but their power came at a cost. According to legend, they made a pact with the forest, offering sacrifices in exchange for protection. When the last member of the tribe vanished without a trace, the forest absorbed their essence, becoming both guardian and keeper of secrets untold. The group listened intently, some shivering despite the heat of the fire. Yet, as the story reached its conclusion, a strange realization dawned on everyone. The whispers, the faint murmurs they'd dismissed earlier as mere imagination had grown louder, almost rhythmic, like a heartbeat echoing through the trees. It was as though the very forest was responding to the tale being told. Panic set in slowly, creeping into their minds like frost spreading across glass. One by one, they noticed peculiarities in their surroundings. Shadows moved unnaturally. Branches swayed when no wind blew, and the ground beneath them felt unnervingly alive. Someone suggested leaving immediately, but another pointed out the futility of running when the forest seemed to stretch infinitely in every direction. And then came the twist. In the midst of chaos, one of them stumbled upon an old journal half buried in the dirt near the campsite. Its pages were yellowed with age, filled with cryptic writings and sketches of symbols none of them recognized. What caught their attention most, however, was the final entry. Do not speak of us unless you wish to awaken what sleeps. The words sent chills down their spines. Had they unknowingly awakened something dormant within the forest? Or worse, had they been watched all along, their presence tolerated only until curiosity led them too far? Climax struck when the whispers coalesced into distinct voices, each speaking in languages unfamiliar yet hauntingly familiar. The forest itself seemed to breathe, its roots shifting and twisting as though forming pathways or barriers to guide them deeper into its embrace. Lights flickered in the distance, guiding those brave enough to follow. Some hesitated, others stepped forward, driven by fear or fascination. In the end, the group splintered. Those who stayed behind claimed they saw nothing unusual after the voices faded, while those who ventured forth disappeared without a trace. Years later, hikers reported finding remnants of the Camp Sitian extinguished fire ring, surrounded by unidentifiable markings carved into the bark of nearby trees. What truly happened that night remains unknown. Was it merely a product of overactive imaginations fueled by ghost stories? Or did the whispering woods reveal a truth hidden beneath centuries of silence? Perhaps the answers lie waiting for those willing to listen. So, what do you think happened to the group in the Whispering Woods? Let me know in the comments below. Did they uncover the ultimate secret of the forest? Or did they simply stumble upon a clever fabrication designed to test their beliefs? Whatever your thoughts may be, sharing them helps build a community of curious minds, eager to explore the mysteries of our universe together. Thanks for joining me on this journey tonight. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and remember the truth often hides in plain sight. It begins. The Lost Star, a cosmic mystery for sleepless nights. Imagine this, a star, one among billions in the night sky, suddenly vanishes without a trace. Not just dimming or being obscured by cloud snow. It's gone entirely, as if someone had erased it from existence. Astronomers around the world are baffled Telescopes point at the exact spot where the star once shone brightly, but now there's only an empty patch of blackness. Pause for a moment and let that sink in. How does something so massive, so eternal, simply disappear? Before we dive in, tell me, where are you watching from, and what time is it there for you? Oh, we love knowing who's out there with us and where in the world you're tuning in from. Whether you're starting your day, winding down at night, or somewhere in between, we want to know what your moment looks like. It's also a great way for us to get to know our audience better and maybe even shape future content around your schedules. So go ahead, drop a comment below and let us know where you are today. We're all ears. Now back to the story. The disappearance wasn't noticed immediately. Stars, after all, seem infinite, their light traveling millions of years before reaching Earth. But when astronomers reviewed data from telescopes around the globe, they realized something was amiss. A star catalogued as KX 471, located in the constellation Orion, had vanished overnight. No explosion, no warning signs, no remnants left behind, just silence. The man who discovered this anomaly worked at a small observatory nestled in the hills of Arizona. He wasn't famous. He didn't have a PhD or a prestigious title. He was just someone passionate about the stars, spending countless nights gazing up at the heavens through his telescope. That night, however, was different. As he cross-referenced recent observations with older records, he noticed the gap where KX 471 should have been. His heart raced not because of fear, but because of wonder. What could possibly cause such a thing? He reached out to colleagues, sharing his findings via email and online forums. At first, most dismissed it as a mistake, perhaps a misalignment of the telescope or an error in the data. But as more people checked their own records, the realization dawned on them. The star really was gone. And not just any starret, was one that had been studied extensively over decades. Its behavior, its brightness, its positional, meticulously documented until now. As news spread, theories began to emerge. Some suggested it might be a natural phenomenon, like gravitational lensing or interstellar dust obscuring the view. Others proposed more far-fetched ideas: alien technology, wormholes, or even a glitch in reality itself. Each theory sparked heated debates, drawing in scientists, enthusiasts, and skeptics alike. For days, the topic dominated headlines, social media, and dinner table conversations. People couldn't stop talking about the lost star. But then came the twist-up discovery that changed everything. While analyzing old photographs taken decades ago, another astronomer noticed something peculiar. In images captured before KX 471 disappeared, the star appeared slightly different. Its color shifted subtly, oscillating between blue and red in ways that defied explanation. This pattern wasn't random, it seemed deliberate, almost rhythmic, like a heartbeat or a code waiting to be deciphered. Excitement rippled through the scientific community. Could the star have been trying to communicate? If so, what message did it carry? Teams of researchers pored over the data, searching for patterns, connections, anything that might unlock the mystery. They found clues buried deep within the star's spectrum frequencies that matched mathematical constants, ratios that mirrored the structure of DNA, even references to locations on Earth. It was as if the star had encoded a map pointing to specific places scattered across the planet. And then came the climax. One by one, these locations were visited by curious explorers, armed with maps generated from the star's signals. What they uncovered was astonishing. Beneath ancient ruins, inside abandoned mines, and hidden within dense jungles, they found artifacts unlike anything ever seen before. Strange devices, made of materials unknown to science, glowing faintly with an otherworldly energy. Symbols, etched into their surfaces, matched those detected in the star's light, suggesting a connection spanning eons. The conclusion left everyone speechless. Was the star truly lost, or had it fulfilled its purpose? Did it come to Earth as a messenger, leaving behind gifts meant to guide humanity toward greater understanding? Or was this merely the beginning of a larger puzzle, one designed to test our curiosity and resilience? What do you think happened to KX-471? Let me know in the comments below. Did it leave willingly, or was it taken? Whatever your thoughts may be, sharing them helps build a community of curious minds eager to explore the mysteries of our universe together. Thanks for joining me on this journey tonight. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and remember, the truth is always stranger than fiction. It begins from ancient ruins to alien signals, humanity's biggest questions. Imagine this, a quiet desert night, the stars above twinkling like ancient secrets waiting to be uncovered. Somewhere in the middle of nowhere, an archaeologist crouches over a peculiar artifact, its surface etched with symbols that seem almost alive. They pulse faintly under the moonlight, as if whispering stories from another time, another world. The air is still, but for the first time, the archaeologist feels a chill run down their spine. This isn't just any discovery, it's something bigger, older, and stranger than anything they've ever encountered before. Before we dive in, tell me, where are you watching from, and what time is it there for you? Oh, we love knowing who's out there with us, and where in the world you're tuning in from. Whether you're starting your day, winding down at night, or somewhere in between, we want to know what your moment looks like. It's also a great way for us to get to know our audience better, and maybe even shape future content around your schedules. So go ahead, drop a comment below and let us know where you are today. We're all ears. Now, back to the story. Let's set the scene. Picture a vast expanse of desert stretching endlessly into the horizon. The kind of place where silence feels heavier than words. Here, amidst the sand dunes and forgotten ruins, lies a sight unlike any other. For years, researchers have been excavating what appears to be remnants of a civilization so advanced it defies logic. These weren't just ordinary people building shelters. These were architects of technology far beyond anything humanity has achieved today. But how could this be possible? How did such a sophisticated society exist thousands of years ago, long before modern science even began? The archaeologist mentioned earlier wasn't alone in their findings. Across continents, similar discoveries were being made. In Egypt, strange carvings on temple walls depicted beings with elongated heads and glowing eyes. In South America, intricate stone structures aligned perfectly with celestial events, suggesting knowledge of astronomy that would take centuries for humans to replicate. And then there was the signal. It started as a faint hum, barely audible over the sound of the wind. At first, no one paid much attention, but soon the hum turned into a pattern, a series of tones that seemed deliberate, intentional. Scientists scramble to decode it, but the more they listened, the more questions arose. Where was it coming from? Why did it only appear at certain times? And perhaps, most importantly, who or what was sending it? As days passed, the signal grew stronger, clearer. People around the globe began picking it up on their radios, phones, even old televisions. Some claimed it gave them vivid dreams, while others reported feeling an inexplicable connection to the universe. A sense of unity spread across cultures, languages, and borders, as if everyone was suddenly aware of something greater than themselves. But here's where things got interesting. Among those studying the signal was a group of linguists who believed it might hold answers to humanity's biggest questions. Questions like, are we alone in the universe? What came before us? And why does life exist at all? As they worked tirelessly to decipher the tones, patterns emerged. Words not spoken in any human language, but somehow understood by those who heard them. Messages about origins, destinies, and truths hidden deep within the fabric of reality. Then came the twist. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the desert in hues of orange and purple, the signal changed. Instead of tones, it became a voice, a calm, resonant voice speaking directly to the archaeologist. You seek answers, it said, but are you ready for the truth? The words echoed, not just in their ears, but in their mind, as if the voice had bypassed physical barriers altogether. The climax hit hard. The voice explained that the ruins weren't merely remnants of an ancient civilization. They were gateways, portals to other dimensions. The beings responsible for the signal had once walked among humans, sharing knowledge, guiding evolution, but they had left, leaving behind clues for those brave enough to uncover them. The signal wasn't random, it was a map, leading to places where time itself bent and folded, revealing secrets untold. In that moment, the archaeologist realized the magnitude of what they'd discovered. Humanity wasn't just the product of chance or natural selection. It was part of a grand design, woven into the very threads of existence. The signal wasn't just meant for scientists or scholars, it was for everyone, a reminder that we are all connected, all pieces of a puzzle far larger than ourselves. The conclusion left the archaeologist and anyone who heard the story speechless. For hours, they sat beneath the starlit sky, contemplating the implications. Were we truly alone, or were we surrounded by unseen presences, watching, waiting? Was the universe infinite, or did it loop back on itself, creating cycles of creation and destruction? The questions lingered, haunting yet comforting, like lullabies sung by the cosmos itself. So, what do you think? Is the signal real, or is it a figment of our collective imagination? Do you believe humanity's greatest mysteries can be solved, or will they forever remain shrouded in mystery? Let me know in the comments below. Sharing your thoughts helps build a community of curious minds eager to explore the unknown together. Thanks for joining me on this journey tonight. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and remember, the truth is always closer than you think.